Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to be tackling something that might seem a little bit out of place. Self-sufficiency right in the heart of the city.
Yeah.
Like, we're diving into this handbook.
Okay.
It's called Urban Independence, a guide to self-sufficiency in city living.
Right.
So we're going to see what it has to offer us.
Sure.
And if it can really be our roadmap to a more independent urban life.
I mean, it's a pretty intriguing concept when you think about it. I mean, when we think about self-sufficiency,
Yeah.
I think we often picture like those sprawling homesteads.
Right.
Not like bustling cityscapes, right?
Exactly.
But that's what makes this handbook so fascinating.
Okay.
It challenges that preconceived notion, and it shows us that self-sufficiency can be achieved
Okay.
even in, what they call the concrete jungle.
I mean, I got to admit, I'm a bit skeptical.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, cities are built on these interconnected systems. We rely on these intricate networks for everything.
Yeah.
From food to water to energy.
Right.
So where does self-sufficiency even fit into that?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
And the handbook, it addresses it right from the start.
Okay.
In Chapter 1, Introduction to Urban Self-Sufficiency.
Okay.
And it really starts by reframing our understanding of what self-sufficiency actually means in an urban context.
Okay.
It's not about disconnecting from those systems entirely,
Right.
but it's rather about reducing our reliance on them.
Okay.
And becoming more resilient to disruptions.
So it's not about going completely off the grid.
Right.
It's about finding ways to become more self-reliant within the existing urban framework.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think of it as diversifying our sources of sustenance and support.
Okay.
For instance, instead of relying solely on grocery stores for food,
Right.
we can supplement our diets, right?
Right.
Growing our own produce,
Right.
like in balcony gardens, rooftop gardens, or even community gardens.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's about finding those little pockets of opportunity
Yeah.
to kind of reclaim some control over our basic needs.
Right. Exactly. And the handbook, it emphasizes that urban self-sufficiency isn't just about practicality.
Yeah.
It's also about aligning our lifestyles with our values.
Now that you mention it,
Yeah.
the environmental aspect is probably what comes to mind for most people when they think about self-sufficiency.
Right.
But is it really possible to make a significant impact in a city where everything seems designed for consumption, not conservation?
I mean, it's a valid concern,
Yeah.
but the handbook argues that urban self-sufficiency can actually be a really powerful driver of environmental change.
Okay.
Take urban gardening, for example.
Okay.
By growing our own food, we reduce our reliance on industrial agriculture,
Okay.
which is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions,
Right.
deforestation, and water pollution.
Wow, I hadn't thought about it in those terms.
Yeah.
So it's about taking control over our food sources
Uh-huh.
and ensuring they're produced in a way that aligns with our values.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just food.
Okay.
Think about energy consumption.
Right.
As cities are adopting renewable energy sources like solar and wind power,
Right.
individuals, we can become active participants in this transition
Yeah.
by installing solar panels on their rooftops or investing in community solar projects.
Okay.
This reduces reliance on fossil fuels and contributes to a cleaner and more sustainable energy grid.
That's a powerful shift.
Here.
From being passive consumers to active producers of energy.
Yeah.
Feels very empowering.
It is. And that leads us to another key theme highlighted in Chapter 1,
Okay.
resilience to disruptions.
Okay.
We live in a world
Yeah.
where unexpected events, natural disasters,
Right.
economic downturns, supply chain disruptions,
Yeah.
these things can significantly impact our access to essential resources.
I mean, those vulnerabilities are definitely top of mind for a lot of people these days. I mean, we've all witnessed how fragile our interconnected systems can be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And urban self-sufficiency, it provides a buffer against those vulnerabilities.
Okay.
Imagine having a source of fresh food
Mm-hmm.
and clean water, even if supply chains are disrupted.
Right.
Or being able to generate your own energy during a power outage.
Okay.
These are real scenarios that self-sufficient city dwellers are better equipped to handle.
That level of preparedness seems almost like taking back control
Yeah.
in a world that often feels very chaotic.
Yeah.
It's about reclaiming agency and reducing dependence on systems that can be unreliable.
Precisely. And there's another layer to this.
Okay.
Economic and personal empowerment.
Okay.
Now I know what you're thinking.
What am I thinking?
City living is expensive.
Yeah.
So how can self-sufficiency lead to financial benefits?
That's exactly what I was wondering. It seems like the costs associated with setting up things like rooftop gardens or solar panels would be prohibitive for many city dwellers.
It's a fair point.
Yeah.
But the handbook argues that while there might be upfront costs,
Okay.
self-sufficiency can lead to long-term savings and even income generation opportunities.
Huh.
Take food, for example.
Yeah.
Yes, growing your own produce requires some initial investment in seeds, soil, and containers.
Right.
But over time, you'll be saving money on groceries, especially as food prices continue to rise.
Okay.
Plus, you can even sell or barter your surplus produce within your community.
So it's an investment in future food security.
Yeah.
Not just access to food, but also affordability and potential income generation.
Exactly. And the same principle applies to energy.
Okay.
Installing solar panels might seem daunting financially,
Yeah.
but the long-term savings on electricity bills can be significant.
Right.
Plus, many cities offer incentives and rebates for renewable energy installations.
Which makes it more accessible.
I'm starting to see the economic logic here.
Yeah.
It's not just about idealism.
Right.
It's about making smart, sustainable choices that benefit both our wallets and the planet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the personal empowerment that comes from learning new skills and becoming more self-reliant. There's a deep sense of satisfaction in knowing you can provide for yourself, even in an urban environment.
I can imagine that sense of self-reliance is incredibly rewarding.
Yeah.
Especially in a city where it's easy to feel disconnected from the resources that sustain us.
It is. And Chapter 1,
Yeah.
it doesn't just lay out the why of urban self-sufficiency.
Okay.
It also provides an overview
Okay.
of the challenges and opportunities
Yeah.
that come with this lifestyle.
Let's talk about those challenges.
Sure.
I'm guessing space constraints are at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to things like urban gardening.
You hit the nail on the head.
Space is a precious commodity in cities.
Right.
But the handbook, it offers these creative solutions for maximizing even the smallest areas.
Okay.
Balcony gardens, vertical gardening techniques, and even indoor hydroponics are all viable options for urban dwellers.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about finding those pockets of potential in unexpected places.
Yeah.
But what about pollution? Isn't that a major concern when it comes to things like urban agriculture?
It's a valid concern, and the handbook, it addresses this by emphasizing sustainable and organic practices. It's about growing food in a way that's good for you and the environment.
Okay.
Rooftop gardens, for example, they can actually help to improve air quality and reduce the urban heat island effect.
So it's not just about producing food.
Right.
It's about producing it responsibly.
Yeah.
And in a way that benefits the entire urban ecosystem.
Exactly.
What other challenges does the handbook highlight?
Another big one is dependence on external resources.
Okay.
Cities are built on these complex systems for water, energy, and waste management.
Yeah.
The goal of urban self-sufficiency, it isn't to disconnect from these systems entirely, but rather to find ways to reduce dependence and to become more resilient.
It's about creating a more balanced relationship with those systems.
Yeah.
And finding ways to supplement them with our own resources and knowledge.
Precisely. And that's where those urban opportunities come in.
Okay.
Cities are increasingly investing in green infrastructure, renewable energy, and community-led initiatives that support self-sufficiency. The handbook, it encourages you to tap into these resources and to become a part of this growing movement.
This is really shifting my perspective.
Yeah.
It's not just about individual actions.
Right.
It's about how those actions connect to a larger web of urban sustainability efforts.
Exactly. Individual self-sufficiency can be a catalyst for collective change. As more people embrace this lifestyle, it creates a ripple effect that can transform the entire urban landscape.
Okay, this is starting to feel less like a pipe dream and more like a real possibility.
Yeah.
But this handbook sounds pretty comprehensive.
Sure.
How does it guide us through all these different aspects of urban self-sufficiency?
Chapter 1 has you covered.
Okay.
It provides an overview of how the handbook is structured to help you find the information most relevant to your needs and interests.
So if I'm totally fascinated by urban agriculture,
Yeah.
but energy independence is less of a priority right now, I can just jump to the chapters on growing food.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's designed to let you personalize your journey.
Mm.
Each chapter focuses on a specific area of urban self-sufficiency,
Right.
with subchapters that break things down into manageable steps and practical advice. It's like having a customized manual for building the urban life you desire.
That's great. It makes it feel much more approachable.
Yeah.
What are some of the key areas this handbook dives into?
Well, as we've discussed, urban agriculture is a big one.
Right.
It covers everything from container gardening basics to creating indoor vertical farms using hydroponics. Imagine having fresh herbs and vegetables growing right in your living room.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I'm already picturing a salad bar in my apartment.
Sure.
With ingredients sourced entirely from my own little urban farm.
Exactly. And beyond food production, the handbook delves into energy independence, guiding you through the ins and outs of solar panels, wind turbines, and even DIY energy solutions. It's about empowering you with the knowledge and the skills to make conscious choices that align with your values.
It seems like this handbook isn't just about following a set path. It's about unlocking a whole new way of thinking about city living.
Right.
It's about challenging those assumptions that we can't be self-sufficient in an urban environment. And embracing the possibilities that exist if we're willing to get creative and resourceful.
That's a great way to put it. It's about reclaiming our agency and finding ways to thrive in the city on our own terms.
This is incredibly inspiring. I'm already feeling more connected to my city and excited to explore these different avenues toward urban self-sufficiency.
That's fantastic. And remember, it's not about perfection or doing everything at once. It's about taking those first steps, experimenting, and finding what works best for you.
I love that message. Start small, be curious, and don't be afraid to try new things.
Exactly. Every little step you take towards urban self-sufficiency is a victory, both for yourself and for the planet.
This has been such an eye-opening and thought-provoking conversation. I'm feeling energized and empowered to start making changes.
That's wonderful to hear. Remember, the journey toward urban self-sufficiency, it's an ongoing process. It's about continuous learning, adapting, and finding joy in the process. But before we dive into the practical tips and strategies outlined in the handbook, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned so far. We'll be back in a moment to continue our exploration of urban independence.
That's good.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've laid some of the groundwork for understanding urban self-sufficiency, exploring its principles and benefits and the unique challenges and opportunities of city life.
It's definitely been eye-opening. I'm starting to see my city in a whole new light. Like noticing these little pockets of potential for self-sufficiency that I never really paid attention to before. But I'm also realizing this is more than just a set of practices. It's like a shift in mindset.
You've hit the nail on the head. Chapter 1 of the handbook. It really emphasizes that urban self-sufficiency is as much about changing our perspectives as it is about changing our actions. You know, it's about challenging those ingrained assumptions that we're completely dependent on these complex systems and embracing a more empowered and resilient way of living in the city.
I'm curious, what are some of the key mindset shifts that the handbook encourages us to make?
One of the most important is moving from a sense of scarcity to a sense of abundance. You know, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the limitations of city life, especially when it comes to space and resources. But the handbook, it encourages us to see those limitations as opportunities for creativity and innovation.
Can you give me an example of what that looks like in practice?
Absolutely. Think about urban gardening. Instead of lamenting the lack of a sprawling backyard, we can embrace the challenge of creating a thriving garden on a balcony, a rooftop, or even indoors, using vertical gardening techniques or hydroponics.
That's a great example. It's about finding those pockets of potential, even in the most unexpected places.
Exactly. It's about shifting from a mindset of, I can't do that because, to a mindset of, how can I make this work? And that shift in perspective can be incredibly empowering.
It's like turning those limitations into fuel for innovation.
Precisely. And that leads to another crucial mindset shift.
Okay.
Embracing a DIY ethic.
Okay.
In a world where we're so accustomed to convenience and readily available solutions, urban self-sufficiency, it encourages us to rediscover the satisfaction of creating and producing things ourselves.
That resonates with me.
Yeah.
There's something deeply rewarding about learning new skills and becoming more self-reliant.
Absolutely. And the handbook is filled with practical tips and guidance for developing those skills.
Yeah.
Whether it's learning to grow your own food, repair your own clothes, or build simple energy-saving devices.
Right.
The act of creating and doing things for ourselves can be incredibly empowering and fulfilling.
It's about reclaiming that sense of agency that can sometimes feel lost in the hustle and bustle of city life.
Exactly. And it also fosters a deeper connection to our communities.
Oh, okay.
Urban self-sufficiency isn't about isolating ourselves. It's about finding ways to connect with others who share our values and aspirations.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought about the social aspect of urban self-sufficiency.
It's a crucial element. Think about community gardens, for example.
Okay.
They bring people together around a shared purpose, fostering a sense of belonging and mutual support. And it goes beyond gardening.
Okay.
Tool libraries, skill-sharing workshops, and neighborhood composting initiatives. These are all examples of how urban self-sufficiency can strengthen community bonds and create a more resilient and interconnected urban fabric.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about shifting from a mindset of individual survival to a mindset of collective thriving.
Precisely. And that sense of community can be incredibly empowering, especially in a city where it's easy to feel anonymous or isolated.
This is really challenging my preconceived notions about what it means to live in a city. It's not just about consuming and relying on external systems. It's about actively shaping our urban environment and creating a more sustainable and resilient future for ourselves and our communities.
That's the essence of urban self-sufficiency. It's about taking ownership of our lives, our neighborhoods, and our cities, and becoming active participants in shaping a future that aligns with our values.
This is incredibly inspiring.
Yeah.
But I'm also feeling a bit overwhelmed. Like, where do we even begin with all of this?
That's where Chapter 1 comes in handy.
Okay.
Remember, it not only lays out the principles and benefits of urban self-sufficiency, but it also provides a practical roadmap for putting this knowledge into action.
Okay.
It starts by guiding you through the handbook structure, helping you navigate the different chapters and subchapters based on your interests and priorities.
So if I'm super passionate about urban gardening, I can just jump right to that section and start digging in.
Exactly. You can read the handbook cover to cover, or you can customize your journey by focusing on the areas that resonate most with you. Each chapter dives into a specific aspect of urban self-sufficiency. From food production and energy independence to water conservation and waste management.
It sounds like there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
Regardless of their interests or skill levels.
Absolutely. And each chapter is filled with practical advice, step-by-step guides, and inspiring case studies of urban dwellers who are already living this lifestyle. It's designed to be both informative and empowering, giving you the tools and knowledge you need to embark on your own journey towards urban independence.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
But before we dive into those practical aspects, I want to take a step back and consider the bigger picture. You know, we've talked about the individual benefits of urban self-sufficiency. But what about its potential impact on the city as a whole?
That's a great question. And the handbook, it addresses this by highlighting the collective benefits of widespread urban self-sufficiency. As more individuals embrace this lifestyle, it creates this ripple effect that can transform the entire urban landscape.
Can you elaborate on that?
Sure.
What are some of the citywide benefits that we can expect to see?
One of the most significant is a reduction in the city's environmental footprint. As more people grow their own food, reduce their energy consumption, and adopt sustainable waste management practices, it collectively contributes to a greener, healthier, and more resilient city.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's about shifting from a model of centralized systems to a more distributed and localized approach.
Exactly. And that shift can have a profound impact on the city's resilience to shocks and disruptions.
Okay.
Imagine a city where a significant portion of the population has access to locally grown food, renewable energy sources, and basic self-sufficiency skills.
Okay.
It would be much better equipped to withstand challenges like natural disasters, supply chain disruption, or even economic downturns.
That's a powerful vision.
Yeah.
It's about creating a city that's not just sustainable, but also adaptable and resilient.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And beyond just the practical benefits, urban self-sufficiency can also contribute to a more vibrant and connected community.
Okay.
As people engage in shared activities like gardening, composting, or skill sharing.
Yeah.
It fosters a sense of belonging and mutual support.
It's about rebuilding those traditional community bonds that can sometimes feel lost in the anonymity of city life.
Absolutely. And that sense of community can lead to increased civic engagement, greater social cohesion, and a more vibrant and fulfilling urban experience for everyone.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see urban self-sufficiency not just as like a personal lifestyle choice, but as a movement that has the potential to transform our cities for the better. But I'm also realizing this is a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
It's about taking those first steps, experimenting, learning, and adapting along the way.
You've captured it perfectly. And remember, you don't have to do everything at once. The beauty of urban self-sufficiency is that it can be customized to fit your interests, your skills, and your lifestyle.
This is incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
But I'm sure our listeners are eager to hear about the practical steps they can take to embark on their own journeys.
Yeah.
So let's delve into those in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll be back in a moment.
Sure.
To explore the specific areas covered in the handbook and provide some actionable tips for getting started.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've spent this episode really exploring the concept of urban self-sufficiency from its underlying principles to its potential to transform, not just our individual lives, but also our cities as a whole.
It's been a fascinating journey, hasn't it?
It has.
We've challenged those preconceived notions that self-sufficiency is only possible in rural settings.
Right.
And we've discovered a whole world of possibilities.
Yeah.
Right, within our urban environment.
Absolutely. I'm feeling incredibly inspired.
Yeah.
And ready to roll up my sleeves and start putting some of these ideas into practice. But I'm also feeling a little overwhelmed by the sheer scope of it all.
Sure.
Where do we even begin?
That's where the handbook Urban Independence, a guide to self-sufficiency in city living, truly shines.
Oh, God.
Chapter 1, which we've been focusing on.
Right.
It not only lays the groundwork for understanding urban self-sufficiency, but it also provides a practical roadmap for navigating the rest of the book.
So it's like a choose-your-own-adventure guide to urban independence.
Exactly. It's designed to be flexible and adaptable to your individual interests, skills, and goals. The handbook is divided into these thematic chapters, each focusing on a specific area of urban self-sufficiency, from food production and energy independence to water conservation, waste management, and even DIY healthcare and home repairs.
Wow, that's quite comprehensive.
Yeah. It sounds like there's something for everyone, regardless of their background or experience level.
Absolutely. And each chapter provides a wealth of practical information, step-by-step guides, and inspiring case studies of urban dwellers who are already living this lifestyle. You'll find everything from detailed instructions on building a balcony garden to tips for reducing your energy consumption, composting your food scraps, and even making your own natural cleaning products.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm already feeling empowered just thinking about all the possibilities.
Sure.
Can you give us a sneak peek into some of the specific topics covered in the handbook?
Of course. One of the most popular chapters focuses on urban agriculture. It covers everything from the basics of container gardening to more advanced techniques like hydroponics and vertical farming.
Okay.
Allowing you to grow fresh food even in limited spaces.
I'm particularly interested in hydroponics.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds almost futuristic. Growing plants without soil.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about how that works?
So hydroponics is a fascinating method of growing plants.
Okay.
In a nutrient-rich water solution instead of soil. It's ideal for urban environments because it requires less space, less water, and even less pesticides compared to traditional gardening methods.
Okay.
The handbook, it provides detailed instructions on setting up your own hydroponic system, whether it's a simple countertop setup for growing herbs or a more elaborate system for producing vegetables year-round.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I can imagine having fresh herbs and vegetables growing right in my apartment.
Right.
Regardless of the weather outside.
Yeah, exactly.
What other areas does the handbook delve into?
Another key chapter focuses on energy independence.
Okay.
It explores a range of options for reducing your reliance on the grid, from simple energy-saving tips to more complex solutions like installing solar panels or wind turbines.
I've always been curious about solar panels, but the thought of installing them seems daunting.
Yeah.
Does the handbook provide guidance on that?
It certainly does.
Okay.
It covers everything from assessing your energy needs and determining the best type of solar panels for your location to navigating the permitting process and even DIY installation tips.
So it demystifies the whole process and makes it feel much more achievable.
Exactly.
That's great to know.
Yeah.
It's empowering to realize that we have more control over our energy sources than we might think.
Right.
What other fascinating topics does the handbook cover?
It also delves into water conservation, providing practical advice on reducing your water usage both indoors and outdoors.
Okay.
You'll learn about water-efficient appliances, rainwater harvesting techniques, and even how to create a gray water system for reusing water from your sinks and showers.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's about seeing those resources that we often take for granted in a whole new light and finding creative ways to use them more efficiently.
Exactly.
And beyond those core areas, the handbook also explores topics like waste management with tips for composting, recycling, and reducing your overall waste footprint. It even touches on DIY healthcare and home repairs, empowering you to take charge of your own well-being and become more self-reliant in maintaining your living space.
Exactly.
This handbook sounds like an indispensable resource for anyone interested in exploring urban self-sufficiency.
It is.
It's packed with practical information, inspiring ideas, and a sense of empowerment that makes it feel achievable, even in the heart of the city.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay.
You know, it's a testament to the fact that we have more agency and potential for self-reliance than we might realize.
Right.
And it's about reclaiming that agency and shaping our urban lives in ways that align with our values and aspirations.
This has been such an insightful and thought-provoking deep dive.
Yeah, it has.
I'm walking away feeling not just informed, but also inspired and empowered to start taking action.
That's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
Remember, urban self-sufficiency is a journey, not a destination. It's about taking those first steps, experimenting, learning, and adapting along the way.
Okay.
And most importantly, it's about finding joy and fulfillment in the process of creating a more sustainable, resilient, and empowered urban life.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought.
Okay.
What small step can you take today to embark on your own journey toward urban independence?
Yeah.
Whether it's planting a herb on your windowsill, switching to energy-efficient light bulbs, or simply exploring the pages of this incredible handbook. Every action, no matter how small, brings us closer to a more sustainable and fulfilling future in our cities.
Until next time, happy exploring.